Today we're going to be talking about these factory knots. We all hate them and we all come across them. So what I do when I come across one of these is we do need to remove it from the yarn because we don't want it to go up and into the machine because it could jam it or break a needle. These are also the same steps you would do if you want to add a additional yarn skein to your project, like when you're making a scarf or a blanket. So what we need to do is cut the yarn, and now we have the working yarn that's still attached to our machine is right here attached down to this needle. So we want to put that into the middle of our machine, still hooked onto the needle. The part with the factory knot still on it, we're going to cut that off, or we could also pretend this is our second yarn skein we're going to be adding on to our project to make it longer. Now that that factory knot is gone, we're going to take the tail end of the yarn, put it down into the yarn holder. And you want to make sure it goes all the way down into the front of the yarn holder. If it's just off to the side like this, the needles will not be able to catch the yarn and you will get drop stitches. So make sure it's all the way down. Have a long tail in the middle of your machine, and you want the next needle to now catch the yarn as you crank forward. And I also have it down in my yarn tensioner. And then you're going to see how when that needle has caught it, I'm going to pull on the tail ends of the working yarn. Not only the two that are inside the machine, but also the one connected to the yarn skein. And this is to help pick up any slack and to create tension so we have even sized stitches. I have found with some yarns they can be particular, and if I don't do this, my stitches will be longer and I'll have like 5 or 6 stitches where they look bigger, and you can see that difference in the pattern. So this is a way that I found that makes it hopefully a little bit better, where you don't see as big of a difference in the pattern in the length of the stitches. Now that I've gone once around, when I come back, I'm going to hold on to the tail ends of those yarn and do the same process as I crank forward. I'm going to tighten and just kind of pull on those loose ends, the tail ends of the yarn, just to make sure there's no slack, and then continue around again, cranking my next row. And I will do this 1 or 2 more times, making sure there's no slack in my yarn. And I'm not pulling overly hard. It's just enough to pick up any slack there is. Once that's done, I can continue to crank my rows as normal. And then after I get a few more rows, I will stop and I'll just do a quick little knot here. And this is just an extra layer of protection, especially when I go to remove the fabric from the machine. I don't want any of those stitches to drop or these tail ends to come undone. So this little knot will just make sure everything stays in its place till I'm able to secure everything down fully. Now that there's a knot, I'm going to finish cranking out all of my rows, and I'll meet you back. Once I'm done with my rows, then we can cast off. If you would like a full in-depth tutorial on how to cast on or cast off, take a look at the description link below, and I have videos linked there for you that you can watch. So once we're done casting off, now we have our fabric. We can pull it, and this is our exterior, which is the knit side that we see here. The knits are the V-shaped stitches, and then the inside is the pearl shape. This is the side that we see when it's on the machine. Flip it inside out, so we're looking at the pearl side, and then we can find our tail ends of our yarn that we're going to put together, and just kind of pull it and tighten down the knot to make sure the stitches are the right size. Don't pull it overly tight or else you'll make the stitches too short, and that won't look right either. So you just pull it enough and then look, and you can kind of stretch it out too if you pull it too tight. And then we're going to knot it down 3-4 times to secure it all into place. You can weave in the tail ends if you would like, or if you're making a tube, something with a double layer, you can keep the tail ends on there. You don't need to weave them in. I just like to cut them a little bit shorter, and then they will just hide in between the 2 layers. Now your yarn is secure and you can finish making your project. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the likes, the follows, and the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and happy crafting, everybody.